Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Hi, everyone. Today I am talking with Dr. Mark Brackett, who is the founder and director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, a professor of the Child Study Center of Yale University, and the author of the book Permission to Feel. And it's a great book, and I'm so excited to talk to you. Can I call you Mark? Is that okay?
It's definitely okay.
Okay, perfect. So when I ask someone how they feel, like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing today, Mark? Or somebody says to me, hey, Tamara, how are you doing? I always go, oh, I'm good. It's good. And they're like, yeah, it's good. I'm good. Are we good?
Well, some of us are good. I'm not sure I'm one of those people.
I know I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, I think, what you're really getting at is the superficiality, in terms of the question and the response. It's like, hey, it's Tamara, is that your pronunciation?
Tamara, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tamara. Yeah, so I say, hey, Tamara, like, how's it going? And you're like, fine, good, bye-bye. And then, ask me how I'm feeling, actually.
Okay.
Would you mind?
Yeah. Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm tired. I'm a little irritable, not with you, but about other stuff going on. I am eager for the break that's coming, but I'm also overwhelmed by it and feeling an odd mixture of anxiety, frustration, and despair.
See, I don't know what to do with that.
Exactly. That's
right?
why I was like, and it's like, oh, shoot, like, why the heck did I ask? Because now I got to, I can't go to work now. Right? I can't do what I want to do because now I got to attend to the feelings of other. Now, if you have children or you work in an organization, everybody's got feelings every day. And the question is, what are we doing with those feelings? If we ignore them, we know the repercussions of that, right? As a parent. And so the question, I think, really gets at, how much time do we spend talking about feelings? Am I even accurately describing how I'm feeling? And I think the big one is, do I feel safe and comfortable, being my true self with you? And do I have the strategies to manage these feelings?
I think that it's this, we live in this idea that we have to make small talk all the time. There's always small talk, like, hey, for a lot of people here where I live in British Columbia, it's, we talk about the weather a lot. Oh my gosh, did you notice the sun came out and right? Or, oh, so how are you and the family doing? Oh, we're good. I mean, it's a pandemic. We're not good. We are not good. But you're right. I can't get into all of that with somebody who's just asking me when they see me at the grocery store. Right. Or wherever it may be. It is complicated. But if we're adults and we can't be honest about our emotions, how can we teach our children to be honest about their emotions?
Well, we can't. And this is why I think that we have created a society that is emotionally bankrupt. So many people are, afraid of talking about their feelings. They feel like they're going to be judged, I'm the director of a Center for Emotional Intelligence, and you say, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm overwhelmed and anxious. You're like, okay, well, I don't want to work there. If the director of a freaking Center for Emotional Intelligence can't deal with his mental health and anxiety, then wow, there's no hope for me. There's so many layers, that go into it. But the truth is, I'm 52. I've had anxiety challenges my whole life. But I've also had a lot of joy in my life and a lot of excitement and optimism and hope and pride and accomplishment. We're just more complex people. And so the question is not so much what feelings you're having in the moment, but really how are you kind of living with the emotions that you have every day and using your emotions wisely. I think that's the core of emotional intelligence, is just understanding that there's no such thing as a good or bad emotion. Emotions are data, they're information. And the goal, from my perspective, is to learn how to use those feelings wisely.
Yes, exactly. But it's complicated. It's so complicated. Um, let's go back to childhood. I know you had a traumatic childhood.
Yeah.
Definitely have aspects of trauma in my childhood. Um, that really, I mean, so many kids have trauma in their lives. So many adults have trauma in their lives.
Yeah.
How do we grow from being that child? I mean, can you speak a little bit about you're quite open about how this all started for you?
Sure. Well, it's funny, I wrote my book and I called it Permission to Feel. And there was like a lot of people were not thrilled with the title at first, like my agent and publisher. They were like, I'm not sure that an executive walking through the airport is going to want to, buy a book called Permission to Feel. It's like, it sounds a little vulnerable, a little soft skill, and I said, all the things, and all the reasons that you're sharing as to why people are going to be uncomfortable with it are the reasons why I'm writing it. And it's also the reason why I'm calling it that. And so people have asked me a lot because I go out, I do a lot of public speaking, and I have a program that's in thousands of schools, including Vancouver and Canada. And like, why do you do your work? And I would say, for most of my life, I'd say I hated school. I was bullied. And finally at 49, when I was putting together my book, I realized that it was just like the right time in my life to be my authentic self. And the reason, why I wrote this thing called Permission to Feel was because I was robbed of my emotional life as a child. I was abused by a neighbor for way too many years. And that abuser silenced me and said, basically, you can't share what's happening. You'll be harmed. Your family would be harmed. Now imagine what it's like for a 6, a 7, 8-year-old to be sexually abused in someone's basement, the feelings that they're having and not having a voice. Your emotions go somewhere. They go to an eating disorder. They go to self-hatred. They go to acting out. I mean, we all know what, suppressed, repressed feelings do to our bodies and our behavior. And so without going into all the detail of that, which is not really necessary, at around 11, I had an uncle who was my hero, who happened to be a teacher and a band leader. And he was visiting us on the weekends in the summer to get his master's degree. And for whatever it was, one weekend in the summer, my uncle looked at me and asked the question that we started off our conversation with, which was, "Hey, Mark, how are you feeling?" But he did it in a way like no other person in my entire life had ever done it. His facial expression, his body language, his vocal tone, the twinkle in his eyes, whatever it was, it gave me the signal to open the floodgate. And everything came out. And God bless Uncle Marvin, and when I told him what was happening, he wasn't like my mother who had terrible anxiety, a good woman, but she would say things like, "Oh my God, I can't handle what's happening." All the time she would say that. So I'm like, I guess I'm not going to ever tell mommy anything. And my father, also a good man, "Son, you got to toughen up." That was the motto of my childhood. "Son, toughen up." I'm like, "Dad, I now, just so you know, I have a 5th degree black belt. Like, I could be a tough guy, but I'm still not a tough guy, right?" It's like toxic masculinity on steroids. And so just to, bring it close to this little piece, I've been really curious, like how many people have an Uncle Marvin? And not a lot of people do. That person that you feel like you can be your true, full, authentic, honest self with. And so I'm on a mission to create a world where there are more Uncle Marvins.
Yeah, we all need an Uncle Marvin. So how do we do that, Mark? How do we create? I know you're in schools, you're in thousands of schools, and teachers are damaged too. Like there's a lot of damaged people walking around.
Yeah.
and, damaged parents. And by damaged, I mean, maybe
Yeah, I
that's
don't
the
love
wrong
that
word.
Right.
That's,
It's a
that's
strong
not
word.
the right word. Sorry. The word is there's a lot of, are there the difference between an emotion scientist and an emotion judge, right? Like when you talk about that, it's like gosh, I heard it so much in my life. You're like, oh my gosh, Tamara, stop. You do not feel like that. That is not what's happening right now. You're overreacting. That is, you're being dramatic. Like, no. Come on.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. I mean, I do think, going back to the word damaged, is that there are a lot of people who are emotionally stuck. They're, in some ways, you can say emotionally bankrupt, as I said earlier. They feel like the only one who really knows anything about my emotional life and cares about it is me. And you don't have to have the abuse that I had to feel that way. I think couples feel that way. It saddens me to know how many people are in relationships and their partners, they feel like they can't be their honest self with their partner. Or parents feel that way about their kids. They can't. I had a father tell me, like, I could never tell my son I was bullied because then my son would think I was weak. There's endless resistance to being open about feeling. And so, going back to permission to feel and the thing that you just talked about, I've actually asked like literally tens of thousands of people the characteristics of their Uncle Marvins. And it's compassionate, it's empathic, it's vulnerable, it's not a fixer, it's good listening, it's supportive, validating. And so it's a good questionnaire, right? You can ask yourself, over the last year and a half during this pandemic, how much self-compassion have you had? How many times have you been judgmental, about how you felt or how you dealt with your feelings? And so that leads to this idea that I've written about, which I call the emotion scientist versus the emotion judge, right? The emotion scientist is open and curious about feelings. Tell me more, I'm curious. Not the emotion judge, which is what you were saying earlier in your childhood. My same thing. I had like, why are you so angry? Like, who said I was angry? Right? What's wrong? It's like, I'm fine. It's like endless how people attribute emotion to us. Do you get that?
Yes.
It's like a big thing, right? It's a projection as opposed to being the curious explorer of the other person's experience. And so we've got to figure out a way to create more emotion scientists who ask the right questions, who help people to explore their experiences, who help people label their feelings precisely. Are you angry? Or are you disappointed? Are you frustrated? Or are you overwhelmed? Because most people actually don't know the differences between and among these emotions. And then when we fail at regulating, I don't know, let me ask you, Tamara, did you fail at any point during the last 18 months at dealing with your feelings?
Oh, yes, constantly.
Yeah.
All the time. I have been for decades. It's been a lifelong journey to understand my emotions. And it's extremely difficult. It's very complicated.
It's really hard. Firstly, we haven't had an emotion education, right? We've had science education, math education, language arts education. But I make the parallel to my martial arts background, which is, how do you get a black belt in emotional intelligence? It's not there. And so we're not helping children in kindergarten think about the feelings that they're experiencing, how to manage those feelings in elementary and middle and high school and college and beyond. And so, I mean, even when I was in therapy in my mid-20s, my mother had died very suddenly of cancer. I was like on the verge of a breakdown about my identity, about what I was going to do with my life. And so I spent a couple of years in therapy, which was interesting. And I learned, a lot about my relationship with my mother. But I never really learned the skills that I needed to deal with life and to manage, the anger that I had at her or my father, or the alienation that I felt as a child going through what I went through, or the anxiety around what the heck I was going to do with my life. No one gave me strategies. And then I started reflecting on all the work that Uncle Marvin and I had done together as a kid. And then I called my uncle and I pulled him out of retirement. And I said, we got to do this. We got to write a curriculum. We got to do everything that you were trying to do in the 70s in your classroom in the Catskill Mountains of New York State. We're going to make this like a thing. And that, like, formalizing an emotion education became, the core of our work. And then applying that with all the science I was learning in graduate school, studying emotional intelligence. And I had to tell you that till this day, I set goals for myself, like, Mark, you're going to be positive today. And then I was working out actually earlier this morning, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so tired. Oh God, the weight's too heavy today. You're getting old. Maybe you should just give up on it. It's a pain in the ass to do this. And how many years is it going to take you to have the body you want? It's like hopeless. And I'm like, I literally set a goal over the last couple of months, like, Mark, you're going to be the fittest 52-year-old you ever met. And honestly, everything gets in the way because our self-talk, the self-saboteur comes out. And I'm an expert at this stuff. And I'm like, but Mark, you wrote the book on emotion. I'm like, well, you better read that chapter again. And you better look for what are the barriers? What are the barriers? And so anyhow, the emotion scientists, when they do give up, when they do say something that's mean or hurtful, they take a breath and they say to themselves, let me unpack this. Let me go a little deeper. What can I do differently tomorrow? The emotion judge just says, blanket, this is who I am. Like, my father was an emotion judge. He would say things like, son, this is how I deal with my anger. You're going to learn how to deal with it. I'm like, Dad, that's another 10 years of therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much there. Okay, I want to talk about schools and the program and Ruler. Before we do that, we always thank our guests by asking them to choose a Canadian charity, and you have done that. You picked 360 Kids, which work with individuals, corporations, and community groups to provide support to at-risk and homeless youth. So we will be giving them $500 in your name. So thank you for choosing them. So you have your prescription for healthy kids, and obviously parents and teachers and support, the support we have around kids is a system called Ruler. Mm-hmm. So
you said it right.
Ruler. Can you explain?
Joking, because some people say ruler where I'm from, so I get it.
Oh, I get it. Ruler. Can you explain what Ruler is?
Sure. So Ruler is an acronym, and it's for the skills of emotional intelligence, but also kind of the overarching name of our model. R stands for recognizing emotion. So I'm looking at your facial expression right now, and I'm like, I think she's feeling pleasant and interested.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, very much so.
I don't want to attribute,
no,
the emotions that I want you to feel.
I'm enjoying this conversation. I love it.
So that's the R. It's other people's emotions and self-awareness, right? Like, what's going on for me? The U is understanding of emotion. Why do I have these feelings? Importantly, with the U is that, what makes you feel angry and what makes me feel angry can be completely different things. Because emotions are about our appraisals of the situations, not the situations themselves. It's like the bear who comes into your backyard. Like, if you're Grizzly Adams, remember that show from when we were kids? Yes, I do. Like, Grizzly Adams is like, whatever, I can deal with the bear. I see a bear and I'm like, I'm dead. And so I feel fear. Grizzly doesn't. L is labeling emotions, really understanding the differences between and among emotions. So, for example, anger and disappointment. Do you know that 95% of the people that I've spoken to in my career have no clue about the difference
between anger and disappointment?
Yep. Like, what's the
Wow.
psychological difference? If I were to ask you, do you mind me putting you on your spot?
No, you can. I mean, anger is when I feel rage, which I feel quite often. Sometimes people ask me how I'm feeling, and I'm like, oh, I have lots of rage today. So anger, I'm mad at a situation. I'm mad at myself. Disappointment is not as strong as anger or rage. It's more, I'm feeling sad about a situation, or no, because sad is a different thing. Disappointment is anger light.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? It's actually harder than we think to.
Yeah, it really is.
And so disappointment has to do with an unmet expectation.
Right.
And anger has to do with a perception of unfairness or injustice. Right? So when someone mistreats me, I would get angry. When someone lets me down, I feel disappointed.
Right. Of course.
And they're different. And the strategies that we use to manage them are different, don't you think?
Yes, very much so.
Like if your kid is feeling, I hate school. Let's imagine your kid comes home, I hate school. How do you think they're feeling?
Anger.
There you go. See what happens. And I hate to
No,
I feel
do
like I'm
it.
constantly giving you this new feedback. Is that my behavior does not mean what I'm feeling.
Right.
I could have said, I hate school because I was bullied in the playground and I'm feeling shame. I could have come home and said, I hate you. I'm not going to school tomorrow because I am afraid of getting beaten up in the morning by the bullies. Or because, I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Right? But we learn how to act out. And so, and parents get easily triggered by that, don't they?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And we don't even find out how our kids are feeling. We just send them to their room or tell them, who do you think you are talking to me that way? Or calm down. We start regulating the behavior without ever finding out about the experience and the feeling to support them. And this happens, by the way, with couples in the workplace. And so labeling is really important. And we have to remember that what we see may not be what the person feels.
Mm-hmm.
And then E and R in Ruler have to do with expressing emotions, knowing how and when to express emotions with different people across different contexts. So there's cultural rules, right? Like in Vancouver versus Connecticut, right? Maybe not a huge cultural difference, but there is a little bit of a difference. Now you go from where I live in Connecticut to South Korea, right? Or even to Wall Street, or to, London or wherever. There are cultural displays of emotion. But we tend to be very kind of ethnocentric, which is a fancy term for biased, and that the way we do things is the way everybody should do things. So eye contact is one of those things, right? America is big on eye contact. Look at me when I speak to you. I see parents doing that all the time. When mommy speaks to you, listen to me. When daddy speaks to you,
Yeah.
And, if you go to Korea, eye contact has a different meaning. And so there's no one way of expressing emotions. Again, when you're the curious emotion scientist, you make less mistakes because you're not using that kind of bias to make the judgments. And finally, the last R of Ruler is the regulation piece. Meaning, what are the emotion regulation strategies that you and I can use to manage our feelings? And I just want to say one last thing about that, which is because we always want people to do the things the way we do them, when we're teaching people regulation, we make the mistake of wanting people to use the strategies that we use.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to finding out what they need based on their personality and based on their experience. And so again, the more curious we are as an emotion scientist, the better able we are to help people find the strategies that work best for them.
Yes. Wow.
Say
That's
that 3
a lot.
times. Yeah.
It's good. No, it's it's so much to think about because you're right. It applies not only to children, but couples and at work. Oh gosh, at work, lots at work. We're surrounded by it. And also it's the labeling part I find super interesting because it is how's your day? Good. It's not very good. It's bad. it's like good, bad, angry. Like there are some core, words that we go to that are pretty like big umbrella words that don't really.
Yeah.
So how do we learn how to label things? How do we get there?
Well, you can use tools, and I saw you had a copy of my book. If you open my book up, right, in the inside cover, right, is the mood meter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the tool that I've been using. We built an app, actually, that's called the Mood Meter app that people can use.
Yes,
and download.
I know the app. Yes. So
Actually,
would you say that app is good for children too?
That's really for teens and above.
Right.
Yeah. Parents can use it though with their kids for younger children. But the mood meter is a really, really helpful tool because it starts off with these 4 quadrants of the yellow, the red, the blue, and the green, and just gives you the opportunity to take everything that's going on inside of you and say, okay, is it high energy and pleasant, like yellow, or is it low energy pleasant, like green, or is it unpleasant, blue, low energy, red, high energy? And so initially you take all the complexities, right, and you kind of like, oh, I could, yeah, kind of I don't know really. It's like that, and it's like that guttural kind of thing, like, ugh. And then you start asking yourself questions like, well, why am I feeling this way? What's going on today? Oh, I got to do that podcast. Just kidding. Or, I've got that meeting I've been dreading for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or I'm having dinner with that, whatever. And so you start making sense out of your emotion, which then helps you to label it properly. Oh, so for example, for the podcast, I get to speak with someone who's really cool about my work. What do you call that? Oh, that's exciting. Right? So you start putting the connection to the experience.
Right.
And that helps you to label it. And then you got to decide.
Because we're not born knowing this information.
Absolutely not. It's 100% learned. And this is what, a lot of people confuse the work that we do on emotional intelligence with temperament and personality. I am without doubt self-report, family report, best friend report. I'm a neurotic person, right? I worry about everything. I worry about why I worry. I even worry about why I worry about why I worry. Because the truth is I don't really have that much to worry about, but like my default is something will go wrong. And all the therapy in the world, all the emotional intelligence training in the world hasn't really changed that very much. However, what has changed is my response to it. When I start going down that kind of catastrophical thinking path, I'm like, Mark, this is not the path you want to go on right now. No, this is not useful. Mark, you've had this thought pattern for 52 years. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Every time you let it go, it becomes self-destructive. Do you really want to go there, Mark? Do you really want to go there, Mark? And so I have the self-talk to help me, put the pause on it, reframe it, which to me is God sent. Because I didn't have those strategies as a kid. And so my mind just went into, really, really dark places. And I didn't know how to communicate what my experience was. I didn't think it was okay to communicate. I had to keep it a secret. And so that's Ruler and the mood meter. It's like these tools to help you kind of build that awareness. And then I think very importantly with Ruler as our model for schools, it's about building a community where everyone is an emotion scientist, not an emotion judge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how do we, if somebody's listening right now and they're like, our school should be doing this, like why aren't we teaching this in our school? And why isn't this being taught in all schools? How do we advocate for teaching kids how to be an emotion scientist in classrooms?
Well, we have to make the commitment as the adults who are raising and teaching kids to be those emotion scientists. So the first step is the adult commitment to the work. And I'm just going to say it's life's work. Emotional intelligence is different than other subject areas. I learned, when I was 5 years old that 10 minus 7 is 3. Maybe I was 6 or 7, whatever. But the point is, I never had to relearn that. I've learned how to have positive self-talk now for 30 years. And there are days when it's hard to access it. And so this is life's work. I also feel like with schools, the reason why I've spent my whole career thinking about this and building a system called Ruler for schools is that I just watch so many schools take a piecemeal approach to this. It's the feeling of the week, or it's the character strength of the month, or it's the book of the year. And that's not the way we're going to help children get their black belts in emotional intelligence. Right? We have to figure out how to do a sequenced approach from preschool to high school that uses evidence-based models and tools that scaffold and follow kids across their development. And so that's what I worked on my whole life, trying to figure out how do we help kids build that self-awareness? How do we help kids build that vocabulary? And what I learned is that the kids are going to do just great if the adults do it first.
Isn't that the truth?
So essentially, our model now is, and this is for the workplace or for schools, leaders, employees, teachers, staff, families, people who work in the cafeteria, people who drive the bus, people who do technology for the school. The way I think about it is that it's about infusing the principles of emotional intelligence into our home, schools, communities and workplaces.
Mm-hmm. 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 Wow. Has the pandemic made emotion scientists flourish? Or, I just think about how difficult life is and has been for, the world in the last 2 years. So are we heading, I guess my question is has the pandemic made your work more challenging, or is now there's no better time than the present to start this work on yourself?
It's both, actually. So people are struggling more with their feelings. There's more anxiety and depression than we've ever seen in my history. And at the same time, people are like, this crisis made me realize that I really need emotional intelligence training. I can't tell you how many dads have come up to me and said, Mark, I never really thought this was all fluffy stuff. And then I got trapped at home with my wife and my kids, and I'm making lunches, and I'm tech coordinator, and I'm dealing with my kids learning and dealing with my relationship with my wife. I need strategies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Everybody's saying that, I think.
Yeah.
And so, I never thought I would write a book that would be for a pandemic, or have an approach to teaching this that was for a pandemic. But I can tell you that I know people have really benefited from it. And schools that have used our program for years reached out and said, thank goodness we had this before the pandemic, because we were able to enter into the chaos with a common language. We were able to enter into the chaos with a core set of strategies. We had to hone those strategies. We had to find some new strategies, but the base was there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know. Your book truly, it seems perfectly timed, even though I know it wasn't timed for, a pandemic. And Mark, what about social media? What about, everything feels so different now for kids than when you and I were kids. I remember being in college, and I think I was on a DOS computer or whatever it was, right? Now everything is so different. And there's all this talk about, kids and teens and their mental health and social media. And there's a lot of, I think, emotion judging online, right?
Well, there's a lot of posing online, right? There's a lot of kind of fake ideal selves online. And so, I like social media, but I use it only for the good, to communicate ideas, to share best practices, to, accomplishments and things I'm proud of with the schools that we work with. When I get caught up in, like, I started this new exercise routine, I started getting all this feed on my Instagram of like everybody with like who's half my age with a way better body. It was like, it's motivational for a little bit, and then it turns into like all like, well, I mean, I'm not even going to go there.
Yes, of course. I mean, hello. Yeah, you're talking to.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the algorithm is really dangerous for your self-esteem and emotions.
And it's all media, by the way. It's not just social media. So when the pandemic hit, I think I sat down in my kitchen and worked, because we were working from home, and I had, the news on all day. It's no wonder I was ready to just like put myself into a psych ward. I mean, it was like every 5 seconds, this was happening with the president, and this was happening with this election, and this was happening with immigration, and this is happening with people dying and masking, and this, I mean, you're just activated all day long. That is not good for your immune system. It is not good for your body's physiology. And so I want to stay informed, but I can't get lost in it. And so this is again part of emotion management. This is the self-regulatory aspect of it. It's like, I'm going to check, but I'm not going to spend 3 hours. I'm going to post, but I'm not going to like be obsessive with like how many people liked it. Somebody was telling me recently about their daughter who like posts things, and within 10 minutes she makes a decision as to whether or not she takes it down or not, because if it doesn't get enough likes in the first 10 minutes, she knows it's not going to be a good post. And I was like, this is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
This is like creating a culture of craziness in terms of self-esteem, in terms of what does feedback really mean. And so, again, I think of this as like, I've done a lot of work in cyberbullying. I used to do consulting for the big tech companies on how to reduce it. And my feelings about this are, again, it's about education. It's a new playground. When I was bullied on the playground, it's because I wanted to play hopscotch and not baseball. And so, there could have been better monitors on the playground to observe what was happening, to support me in what I wanted to do and not get bullied. I think the same thing applies to social media, which is, it's a free-for-all. Yeah. We're not providing really good education in this space.
Yeah.
And it's addictive.
Oh, yeah. And we could probably talk for another hour about that.
I think so.
We probably could. I honestly, Mark, it's been so great chatting with you, and your book is fantastic. I encourage, if you haven't read it, seriously, Permission to Feel. I mean, and you have Brené Brown right there on the top of the book. Like, that is, do you know her?
I do. I was blessed to do a podcast with her actually as well.
I love that. What a compliment. Oh, I'm feeling very happy right now that you did a podcast with her too.
Everybody's,
I mean, there's another woman, right, who like yourself, it provides guidance for us where we can improve how we move through the world, right? With our emotions and our empathy and our compassion and all of those things. And it's a really good reminder, because it has been a stressful time, Mark. It really has been. And like you said, also really forced a lot of us to look at our lives and go, wait a minute, these are all the things that actually I'm not feeling very good about. And maybe I can eliminate those things from my life. So there's definitely lessons. The power of emotional intelligence.
But I just want to say one thing before we end. You want to work on not reinforcing, this has been a horrible time, this has been a terrible time, because you're just programming yourself for that to be your automatic response. So I just want to,
I know, but Mark, if I say that it had, like, if I were to say, oh, well, it's actually been a really great time for me because I've been able to, figure out what I want to do with my life, and I've been able to do this. I'm not saying this is a reality, but wouldn't I then feel like I am dismissing your experience in the pandemic? That's what I think people worry about, right?
I think so. I need a little bit of time to think about this. I don't have that time right now, but I'll give you my off the cuff response, which is just be careful of the stories that you tell yourself. Meaning, if you're just constantly berating yourself, like this is horrible, and I'm this and this, ask yourself questions like, what am I learning about myself during this time? How could I, what strategies might work best for me to support me in having my feelings or using my feelings wisely? Because the negative self-talk, that self-criticism, it metastasizes. And we just don't want that to be our default. We want to acknowledge the feelings, not deny them. But when they're interfering with our relationships and our well-being, and our success, we want to find the strategies that are the most helpful to us, right? So that we can be our true selves and also, have our dreams come true.
Emotion scientists. I love it. Thank you, Mark, so much.
Emotion scientist.
Yes, exactly. Permission to Feel is the book. Mark's website is where is it? Mark Brackett. That's Mark with a C, brackett.com. And you can also follow Mark on Instagram at mark.brackett and on Twitter at Mark Brackett. Mark, thank you so, so much. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Be sure to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for another conversation. You can also check out our website, telus.com/podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at TELUS Talks.